Ladies and gentlemen, what you're seeing on the floor right now is the minimum that's required for a beginning official. I would suggest that they have a clipboard, pencil, eraser, and a marker. Pencil sharpener if you like the number 2 pencils. Create you a pass and check number sign and have that in your bag. That's the bare minimum. Now the rest of the equipment that's on this floor is things that are needed for the horizontal jumps. You'll see a duplicate set of everything. There will be a set of flags, red, white, and yellow, pinning implement, brush, markers, foot placement markers, towels. There's your tape with pins for the markers as well as for putting down your tape. There's the bag that contains the actual event sheets for the day. They're all inside of a garbage bag so that they will stay waterproof at the moment. And as I said, this is a duplicate set for the other runway as well. Everything that's needed. Now there are your brooms that we use here at this particular site, 2 per pit. If you had rakes, they would also be inside of that. Those are the ones with the tines. We only use those to break the crust and also to kind of dig it out if need be. The landing zone for the horizontal jumps must be maintained and it must be filled with sand level with the board and the runway. The pit should be filled with dampened sand, but no 2 sand pits are the same. You're currently looking at a pit that has not been watered very much. The sand is very loose, as you can see. It has some moisture, but not enough to withstand 8 hours of jumping. So we will be adding water to this pit shortly. Water is being applied to the sand that I showed you in this picture earlier. This will sit for about an hour, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before competitors will come and jump, be allowed to run through. The purpose of this is so that the water will have a chance to soak further down into the pit. So when the athletes turn the sand over, the moisture comes to the top and be replaced by the drier soil that's on the top. So that we're constantly getting sand that is dampened so that we're getting good marks instead of sand that's going to be falling away. The other point that we want to make with this is also that the amount of water to place on this is that depends on the pit. If there's dirt in your sand, you're less likely to have as much water as we're going to be putting on this particular pit. This pit will hold as much water as we can put on it, but what we're really wanting is just to have it so after 35 minutes, this is what the sand and the moisture looks like in the sand. I will start digging down. And show you that it is still damp. It is damp. And will hold this consistency for the remainder of the day. Not every pit will do this, but you need to water the pit according to the facility and your knowledge of that particular pit. As I stated earlier, not every pit is the same. This is called breaking the crust. The top layer that is usually the hard level that's on top of the sand. All we're doing is just loosening it up so that when the athletes run through, they won't have to hit that and think they've landed on top of concrete. So it's just called breaking the crust, and we just agitate the sand enough so that it just breaks up the top layer and the moisture stays there and continues to work down. As you can see, the pit has been smoothed out on one side, and now we're going to the other side to smooth it out. We broke the crust, and the crust was the top ridges that you see here. Now the official is going through and just smoothing out the sand just to make it not pretty for competition, but just pretty enough for run-throughs. And that way people don't look at it and think they're going to hurt themselves when they run through with the ridges there. Just to make it look smooth. Notice the back and forth stroke, just to level it off. Any excess sand is being pushed forward and not left at the back, because where the landing area of the athletes are going to be needs to be level. So if there's any improprieties or extra sand needed, we'll always get it from the back and move it to the area that is low.
The first thing I look at when I come to a track is the board. And I work from the board and I go back. And so you can look here at the front of this board. And I'm going to go around and take it to the back. And you can see that it's a little high here on the right. Right here by my, barely can see it by my foot there. But it's a little high here. So we're going to go and get ready to get a plan to make adjustments to this board. And I'll show you this as we do it. Now this is an example of how you adjust the board from the top. Boards can be adjusted from the top and bottom, but if you can see, you can let it down from the top, but you can also do it from the bottom. But in this particular case, we're doing it from the top. He went over to the side, to the right side. Now he's coming to the middle. He's getting it down, bringing it down to where it's even. And eventually I will drop a level on it so you can see. Or that's what we use to try to make sure that it is level. So.
All right, we're level.
This is what it looks like when you adjust it from the bottom. And that's what you can see, how you're letting the screws in. And you come back, it's going to come back. And it's still going to be snug. And it's going to be good. That's excellent. That's flush. That's good. That's good.
Zero.
Next, we're going to put down a tape, and we're going to first start with making sure that our tape is on 0. So, in this particular case, we're going to start with 4 inches. We flipped it, we turned it, looking for 8, and you can see the line from the 8 and where it is on the ring, and now you know where your 0 is. After we found the 0, now we're going to put the tape down, and we probably the only place that we put a tack on our tape is on the reinforced ends, and then we'll put it at the very end. So after this, we'll pull it out, and then we'll use some clips so that it gives us the flexibility to slide the tape when we're changing boards. So I'll show you the end result here in just a second. And we're just pulling the tape And you just see how easy that is to do. And then we'll take the slack out here. And that's it.
Tapes are vital for measurements. The most important thing is understanding where zero is on the tape that you're using. As you can see here, I have put down 3 distinct tapes. Zero is in different spots on 2 of the 3 tapes. So when you're looking at a tape, please, first thing to do is understand where is zero. Previously, we talked about understanding where zero is. The easiest way and method is to bend your tape at a foot, measure it back to where 2 foot would land at on your tape. See, at the back of this pin is where we would have the actual 0 point. Now that is different for the ones that are done with an EDM. EDM calculates it from the tip, basically because through the tip, it runs through the center of that diagonal or circle that you see there and calculates the distance there. Now, here's a third element. This particular tape is attached to a pointer, but on the back side of this particular tape is where zero is. So when you're measuring in the pit, now we must put these guys into the proper spot for zero. Notice the official moved down, went straight into the mark. With the pin that we're using, it is at the back side of the actual hole. Now, the only difference between this is the location of where zero is. You got to know where zero is at all times on your pin and put it into the proper spot for the location. It looks like this one is slightly off, but we will deal with that on the next video. All right, now it's time for the find him to exit. He will lift this pin up. He will lift his pin up, step back, and the footprints that he made are small. The holes will not be that deep for the rakers to cover, and things will go faster. Now we're going to determine where zero is on this particular jump. But before I go there, you'll notice that the official did not do anything but just went straight in to the mark where zero was. The pin he's using, zero, is in the center of the pin. Notice on a closer view that zero for this one is right at the very center back of the actual mark. Now we've gotten it, read the mark twice. Now the official is about to exit. Notice how he's exiting. He raised the pin up. He didn't twist or turn. He basically lifted up his foot where he was and stepped backwards. When you do this, your holes that you'll leave are small and the actual pit groomers will have less work to do. If you pivot, the deeper the hole will be. These things matter to the rakers. Video, I showed you where an element was pinned, but it was actually not in the right spot. This same element now will be placed in the correct spot. As the official walks in to pin, notice that he's putting it into unbroken sand, and the backside of the pin is where zero is. They perform their measurements, and now the distance that you lose or give by placing this in an improper spot could be a world record, could be the difference between first and second spot. And honestly, I would call these as being unfair to all of the athletes, because if other places are placing it in the correct spot and you're doing it in the wrong spot, you're actually giving them marks that they really didn't earn. So let's be fair to everyone. Now the official will come in, exit, and now those tracks that we talked about will be cleaned up. Notice, simple strokes, and we're out of there. On this video, the official has an EDM, or the total station pinning element. He will now walk in and pin this actual mark. Notice he goes straight in. The pin goes into 0. Notice that little turn that he just did. The prism is facing backwards, so that when he turns it around after he's gotten into the right spot, it won't start the calculation process. Now the total station will lock in on that particular spot and actually measure the distance for that particular element. Okay, total stations have given him now the procedures to exit. He's ready to exit. He's same procedure on exiting. Small tracks backwards, small holes for the breakers to actually recover. No pivot, no turn.